Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was Locked Away by the Otsutsuki God. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a Seal Master that created his own Sage Mode, and enjoy that, guys, over on Anime King 2. And if you're new, yes, I indeed have 3 more channels that I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and obliterate that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And turn on the bell notification to see when I post, because I do post a hell of a lot. So without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Let's begin now, guys. So, to do a bit of a recap from the last part that we left off, having retained his memories of the future proceedings of what was going to happen if he did not put an end to it, if he did not muster up the power to go and slaughter every last Otsutsuki, Nobashiki Otsutsuki was going to come and take everything from him once more. In order to do what he had to do, Naruto had to seal off his heart. Yes, he had to become cold, ruthless, because the world was going to see him as a monster. He needed to be an abomination in order to fix the world. There were things that he had to do that would make them see him as death itself. But he needed to do them. He needed to ally himself with some horrendous, unforgiving individuals. But he needed to do it. The first thing Naruto did was enter his mindscape. As Naruto undid the Death Reaper seal, like it was nothing, having full understanding of the seal a long time ago. As the bars exploded, however, the bars then surrounded Kurama and confined him. As Naruto ripped a large portion of his power out, as he put Kurama to sleep, his actions might seem heartless, but in his time, Kurama was ripped to shreds right in front of his eyes, and there was nothing that he could do about it. He would set all the tail beasts free, but for now, he needed their power. Undoing the seal that was bind on him, his parents arrived. As Naruto allowed them to see what happened, perhaps the only 2 people that he could actually speak to. But despite their comfort, despite their words, he found himself unable to cry. The actions of crying had been beaten out of him a very long time ago. The both of them were very apologetic for what is to come. But they knew that he possessed the strength to do it. Because if he did not, the whole world, no, the whole universe would fall. When Naruto met up with the Sand siblings, as his words to Gaara, got Gaara to think about a lot right there and then. But more than that, Naruto even looked at Kankuro, and Kankuro felt his body freeze up. The look in Naruto's eyes, the bloodlust, was enough to petrify people, as Naruto had knowledge that none of them possess. When the exams began, Orochimaru came after Sasuke. Orochimaru saw Naruto on the tree branch, simply looking down at him. The Sannin was curious by that gaze, as the child seemed to have some sort of understanding in his eyes that the Sannin was curious about, but he said nothing about it as he proceeded to leave. As the exams play out just as Naruto thought, facing off against Kiba, Naruto was rough. He wanted them to start to think of him as someone dark. Naruto beat Kiba without hesitation. Kiba stood no chance. The audience was shocked. Hinata Hyuga, someone that had had feelings for Naruto for a long time now, refused to believe that was Naruto down there. Whoever that was not him. His eyes were not the same. That was the eyes of a cold-blooded monster as she looked at those cold, ruthless, unforgiving eyes. Jiraiya met Naruto in the 1 month time period, as Naruto was rather happy to see him again. However, he couldn't afford to let him know anything that he did know, as Naruto played his part rather well, even getting the Toad contract. During that time, Naruto had gone after Baki. He also went after Hayate as he wiped the man's memory. Hayate was supposed to die on this night, but Naruto prevented his death, as the person that Baki saw was not Naruto. Using a very complex sealing jutsu, Naruto appears as a different person and proceed to make him understand what is going to happen from now on. As Baki looked into things, and he came back and spoke to the Hokage on the behalf of the Hidden Sand, as he was able to secretly speak to his people. When the exam finally came around, things were looking rather well as Naruto faced Neji and came out on top. After the battle, the invasion began. Gaara was no threat, as Naruto had met him on the roof. Gaara wanted to attack Naruto right there and then because he frustrated him. However, Naruto did something for him. He fixed his seal. He also spoke to him. As Gaara's mind, his understanding of everything changed that very night. Orochimaru dealt the blow to Hiruzen though, as Hiruzen gave his life. As things was mournful in the village until Naruto and Jiraiya headed out, coming across Itachi, as Sasuke came there. As Naruto watched it all played out, he's been here before, he's seen this before. Arriving as they met Tsunade, Naruto played his part rather well. In the end, Orochimaru escaped. Once again, the Sannin saw Naruto and his eyes were fixated on the Sannin as he watched him leave. Time passed after that as they returned back to the village. Everything was actually going rather well, until Naruto's apartment exploded in a violent fiery shower. Tsunade arrived, not knowing that he lived there, but she saw the shocked look from the one eye of the copy ninja. Some time later, we came across the Sannin Orochimaru resting on his bed when Naruto stepped inside of the room, shocking the hell out of the man. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across and please check that for yourself. So we jump right into this brand new episode. Let us begin now guys. We begin this episode with Tsunade Senju. There were bags under her eyes. She hadn't slept for some time now, as she sat in the medical bay. She leaned back in her chair as she released a breath. Every move she made, every turn she turned, all the evidence were there. Every single evidence was there. There were blood, pieces, everything to show that all of it belonged to Naruto. His DNA, his blood, his chakra. They found the cause of the problem. A broken gas pipe. It seemed to have corroded over time, judging from the marks. It seems like Naruto was in the moment, heating up some ramen. Perhaps he did not notice the smell, and it went off. It took the entire apartment. For some, they might say they were lucky, as many of them were out that day. The only one that was in the apartment was Naruto. In his home. It was a bright day. Many went to work. Many was out. Unfortunately though, he was there. And it all went off. And now he's gone. However, Tsunade believed there was something else, as she was just trying to cope with their recent loss. She was trying to find something else. To say that she was wrong, to say that all of this evidence, despite it staring her in the face, was wrong. But it didn't matter how much she tried, how much she begged, how much she cried. Nothing would change. Nothing would ever change. His death had taken a great toll on her. Once again, she felt that encroaching loss of losing someone that you come to love. The boy gave her back hope. He gave her a reason to continue living, to become the Hokage. And just because of a stupid pipe, all of that was taken away from him. She couldn't even cry anymore as she sat in her chair. Jiraiya had left soon after the funeral, trying to cope with this loss. This was a heavy toll on him. The boy's name had vanished from the ceiling scroll to show that he had died. His name had completely vanished to show that he was gone. And Jiraiya left. He couldn't stay in the village right now. He just could not. It reminded him of so much pain, and Naruto's death brought everything back. However, despite losing the child, Tsunade was still the Hokage. A part of her. She believed that part of her was him. She remembers words, encouraging her to take the spot, to take the position, and she felt like if she left the position now, she would just be insulting his memory. So despite how much she wanted to leave and never ever come back, she stayed. Yes, she stayed. Every one of Naruto's classmates were rather shocked, as they couldn't believe it. And it was the way that he died as well. To be taken out like this, it was truly a great loss. Sakura had been hit with a wave of depression, as Naruto's death was something that she never thought she would hear. She loved Sasuke, but this wasn't about feelings, this wasn't about being with anyone, this was about her friend. Naruto was her friend as much as she tried to push him around, as much as she always hit him. But now that she thought about it, things changed after the wave incident. However, Naruto was just so much more calm, and they actually spoke and talked to one another without him continuously asking her out on dates. That is why she was so sad, never expecting to lose someone this close to her. Sasuke had been rather concealing of his feelings. However, you could tell that something was gravely wrong with him. Sasuke risked his life without even thinking to save Naruto. His body moved on its own. As much as he acted like he did not care much, Naruto was his only friend here. He was the only one that would actually go toe to toe with him. The only one that would challenge him. The only one that would put up with his antics. Either the others did not care much or the girls were all over him, but not Naruto. Having lost his friend and comrade, it brought back memories for the young boy. Memories that made him have sleepless nights. Memories that made him wish he could just close his eyes and be well rested and open them a moment later. But that was not the case. Taking it even harder was Kakashi, his sensei. Having lost everyone within his life, his father, his friends, his sensei who came to act like a father, and now he watched his sensei's son, his only son, perish. Kakashi was truly hurt by that. Rumors and word spread as many heard about his demise. All over the elemental nation, his name spread. The Akatsuki heard about this as well. It was rather unfortunate, and it will slow down the process of retrieving the Nine Tails, but their plan was still on. While all of that was going on, Naruto stood on top of a rather high mountain as he gazed down below him. His eyes were empty as usual. His face devoid of all emotions. Is now completely white here, blowing in the wind. Much hasn't changed. It's just been 2 weeks. As he looked down towards the small village down below, when he heard something behind him as he turned. Standing there was a sound shinobi. As Naruto started to walk, "Let's go," he said. Flashback. Orochimaru was confused. As Naruto Uzumaki stepped within his chambers, expecting it to be Kabuto, but he was completely wrong. As Naruto casually stood there, like he belonged here, as he just said that we should talk. The Sannin was actually left speechless. A moment of confusion before he lashed out with the intention of capturing the boy. Given their previous encounter, Orochimaru was not a fan. However, the moment the Sannin reached too close, a seal on Naruto's chest started to glow. It momentarily blinded the Sannin. Before he could move back though, Naruto dug his fingers into his chest, leaving a permanent mark of his 5 fingertips. He then raised his left hand as he began the process. Orochimaru's chakra started to seep from his chest where Naruto marked him. As the seal on Naruto's chest started to release his own chakra, the both of them twist and twine and combine together. Before there was a violent collision that threw both of them against the wall. It did not take too long for Kabuto to rush into the room. "Orochimaru-sama, what?" Kabuto was confused. "Naruto?" he said, immediately covering his hand in a chakra scalpel. He placed it at Naruto's throat. "You might want to rethink what you're doing. After all, I wouldn't suggest doing something like that. If you intend to end your master life as well, then you can go right ahead." "What?" Kabuto said. "Kabuto, stop! Now!" Orochimaru said. The man was sweating heavily. He looked up towards Naruto as he could feel it. "What did you do to me?" "I bound our souls together. Trust me, this is something that you will never, ever break. So, why don't we have that little conversation?" Orochimaru grabbed Naruto and slammed him into the wall. "Undo this now!" he roared. However, Orochimaru then noticed something. His arms. Looking down with a confused look on his face, he dropped Naruto as he pulled back, looking at his completely healed arms. "How did you?" "I put something extra in our soul binding. Now you have your arms back," said Naruto. "By the way, do something like that again, and I promise you, you're not gonna like it," said Naruto. All of a sudden the air became cold. Orochimaru felt a chilling sensation, like he was speaking to death itself, and then it was gone. "You know, you can put your arms down," said Naruto looking towards Kabuto. "If you end my life, your master dies. There's no going around it. And trust me, your body swapping technique won't save you. All of those lives that you have consumed inside of your system won't save you. Even leaving that corpse won't save you. This is more than just any sealing technique. This is a curse that has bind us, and I'm the only one that can actually break it." Orochimaru looked towards the child, confused by his knowledge on so much of his things. "I know you must be confused right now. However, I can give you all the answers you seek, but he has to leave. Kabuto, go." "But Lord, I said go." Kabuto stepped out of the room 3 times. "In the forest of death, when I killed Hiruzen, and when I fled from Tsunade and Jiraiya, you were always watching me. Every single time. I never took much stock into it, but now, how do you know so much about me?" Naruto held his hand to his head. "See for yourself." Orochimaru held on to his skull as his face squinted up in a look of grimace. Orochimaru's eyes widened. Information processed into his mind. He looked at Naruto with a shocked look on his face. You're from the future, he said. In a way, yes, said Naruto. Some of my powers and my mind are, but not this body. Orochimaru was shocked. He would say the child was lying, but Orochimaru saw and experienced things that shouldn't be possible. The child knew everything about him. He showed him himself. And that shouldn't be possible. And it was not him now, but him in the future. As he looked at the child oddly, I know that you don't do anything for free. So, I'll make you a deal. Give me what I desire and I'll make you what you always seek for so long now. I'll make you a true immortal with the aspect to go beyond this world. Your desire is to consume all knowledge, all jutsus, all techniques, but with my help, I can get you out of this world, out of this galaxy, into the very universe itself. The unending universe that is so vast, consisting of thousands upon thousands of planets, where you can learn all sorts of information, where there is no aspect of your life never truly ending. As you can see, Naruto tapped his head once again, as Orochimaru now knew what a Otsutsuki was, and now knew the dreadful aspect that they pose. Tell me something, he said. Why have you come back? As Naruto looked into his eyes, Orochimaru blinked when he saw the end of the human race. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but they will come. And it doesn't matter what you do to yourself, how you augment yourself, you will never truly reach your level to defeat them. I am the only one. My body is the only body that can transcend what is to come, to face this threat. But I can't do that alone. I need help. Help me, and I will give you all that you desire in the end. You will become a true immortal, not bound by any laws. And I won't come after you. Do this, and leave the elemental nation, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Naruto stepped toward the Sannin. Do we have a deal? End of flashback. A lot more was said, but in the end, Orochimaru and Naruto came to a deal. Yes, they did. And now they were partners, as there was a lot to be done. First of all, he will not be getting Sasuke's body, but he was going to give him the power that he promised him. Yes, he was going to give him that power. So the Sound Four, who was still residing within the village, it was now their time to shine. Orochimaru did not know every single detail, as Naruto manipulated the memories, preventing him from seeing everything. Orochimaru was concerned that his life was linked to his, worrying about Naruto's death, but he soon come to realize that would be impossible after he was able to see what truly the boy has at his possession, and it was shocking. Orochimaru never imagined that the aspect to go beyond the stars would ever be something that he would ever face. And he was not doing this blindly. As the time go on, Naruto would give him information, give him clues on how to gain more strength, and watch himself grow and evolve into a perfect being. Neither of them trusted each other, but they were the only ones that knew the world would be ripped apart. The entire galaxy, the universe, if something was not done to face the king of the Otsutsukis, Nobushiki Otsutsuki. Even that, they still had to face Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and several powerful others. However, Naruto did not desire his help to fight any Otsutsuki. What he desired was for certain methods for Orochimaru help, to empower his form, certain methods that he could not do alone. And in doing so, he alone will take them on. He will go there himself, one by one, dozen by dozen, doesn't matter. His hands will be drenched with the blood of Otsutsuki's. By the time that he was done, he was going to rid this entire universe of all of them. Before that though, he decided to put himself behind a mask. It's better, he told himself, for them not to know. That is why he killed Naruto Uzumaki. From here on out, he was void. An empty, all-consuming void with only one objective. And nothing will stand in his way. Nothing will stop him from completing that objective. Time skip. Sasuke Uchiha fled the village. His last words to Sakura make her break down in tears as he fled the village, leaving her. A team was quickly put together. A team consisting of Kiba Inuzaka, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, Neji Hyuga, and Tenten were sent out. Yes, they were sent out to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha and get him back to the village, as majority of the others were on high-ranking missions because of the recent actions against the village. This was not something that Tsunade wanted to deal with right now, as she even called in a favor from the Hidden Sand. Gaara was rather shocked when he heard about Naruto's death and how he died. It was a true waste, because if he did not believe in anyone else, he believed that Naruto Uzumaki would become a great man and a great leader. However, Gaara shall honor his name and honor his work, because he helped him realize that he wasn't a monster. He saved him by fixing his seal. As the group was making their way to try and intervene, the Sound Four was making their way as they had to rest in the night, and now it was daytime. Neji was able to see the members. Shikamaru started to give out his orders. As he was placed as a team leader, he already had a plan. However, someone else is coming, said Neji. The person was wearing a white mask. Strangely enough, there was no eye holes. How they were seen was beyond him. Neji tried to peer behind the mask, but he could not. He could not even see the person. Shock resisted him. What the hell? It was like there was nothing there that he could see. It was just a spot in his reality that he could not peer through or behind, which really confused him. When Naruto landed in front of the group, they all looked at him. Who the hell are you? Teiwaya first said, it doesn't matter who I am, but you may call me Void. Orochimaru-sama sent me, said Naruto, making sure that they think that he was one of Orochimaru's accomplices by using the Sama title. Go ahead. I'll make sure that they don't follow you guys. Quickly now, make sure that you pass the border. Neji started to relay information back to the group that the person came to a stop. When they all arrived, he was just standing there, his face covered by his mask. His mask was white as his hair. His arms were hanging at his side. He was wearing a grey coat underneath a black sleeveless shirt, black pants and ninja sandals. I don't know who the hell you are, but you're making a big mistake, pal. Getting in your way. Akamaru. Fang over fang. The both of them attacked with a fury, spinning towards the enemy. As Neji leaped to the side, Tenten jumped into the air, jumping on the branches as she head up to attack from above, in case Kiba's attack did not land. As Choji ran to the right, Shikamaru preparing himself. However, what followed shocked all of them. They felt the chakra build up. Neji could not see it with his eyes, but they felt it. He held his hands out as he seemed to distort the very air itself. A pressurized wind technique. slammed into all of them with pinpoint accuracy. The force was unbelievable. It was like gravity itself was pushing them down, their bodies slamming vigorously against the earth. Akamaru passed out, the puppy unable to withstand the force crushing down on him. As the others were on the verge of blacking out, Choji slowly brought his hand as he expanded his body, but Void appeared in front of him. He held his hand out before he slammed it into Choji's stomach. He then turned his hand in a strange pattern, and Choji's eyes went white as he passed out. The others were now free, but their body was still racked with pain. Tenten threw a scroll in the sky as she activated her technique. Weapons started to rain down on him. As Choji was already out of the way, Shikamaru moving him with his shadow. He simply looked up in the air as he went through hand signs. However, there was no technique that he released. He created a barrier with hand signs, confusing the others as all the weapons bounced away. Kiba got to his feet as he grabbed Akamaru and got him to safety. He then charged, trying to break through the barrier, but Void dropped it. He then held his hand out and pushed it directly through Kiba's spinning motion, which should have been ripped apart, but Kiba found himself stop as he felt his chakra rotation around his form disrupted. He was confused as he looked at the mass. The person grabbed his arm around Kiba's neck and hit him in a pressure point in the neck as Kiba crumbled. Suddenly, Shadow was grabbed by Shikamaru. Now! As Neji charged forward with the intention to take him out. Unfortunately though, Shikamaru's shadow position lost its hold on him. As Shikamaru felt something and the next moment he lost control, Neji's hand was grabbed, shocking him. The man ducked under his next blow. Before he brought his hand up, Neji was shocked as he hit him. His hand signs were of the gentle fist style. As Neji felt his mind being pushed into an unconscious state as he collapsed, Tenten rushing forward with a bow staff as she swung. He caught it as he pulled her forward before he did the same thing as she collapsed on the ground. He defeated all of them without any effort at all. It was like dealing with children. They were absolutely nothing in front of this person who looked to be their age, given his height. Or maybe Shikamaru was wrong. Shikamaru got to his feet, his mind unable to think of any strategy, any hope or any way to defeat this individual. Stand your ground. You might be the mind of the operation, but you are not the strength. As the person turned and started to walk away. Why? Why did you do all of this? Isn't it obvious? No, your actions make no sense. You deliberately went for the knockout blow when you could have clearly gone for the killing blow. Not that I'm not grateful for my comrade's safety. Your actions don't make sense. The Sound Ninjas, Orochimaru people would not care about any of us. Who are you? Shikamaru said, trying to get as much understanding as he could. I was simply hired to do a job. You children mean no threat to me. So you are not my true enemies. Take your comrades and go. Their life would not be wasted today. With that, he turned and started to walk away, leaving Shikamaru behind. Shikamaru had no choice but to stop, as there was nothing that he could do. This person was able to undo his shadow binding just like that. Whoever this person was, their strength was above a Jonin, and there was nothing that they could do in the face of that element, Shikamaru thought. The Sound Four headed off with Sasuke as they were able to pass the border. Upon Sasuke breaking out of the coffin, becoming a new man, infused with so much power, he was taken to Lord Orochimaru. Orochimaru played his part, offering Sasuke what he desired. However, Naruto had warned him that he would not take Sasuke's body. Orochimaru said nothing about Naruto being alive, as he kept his word and mouth shut. The only other that knew of Naruto's existence was Kabuto. And he was going to keep his mouth shut as well, as Orochimaru kept certain details to himself as well. Kabuto was just a subordinate after all, even though he was his right-hand man. Returning home, shame and humiliated that they were all taken out that easy. Sakura had tears as she cried the entire night. First Naruto and then Sasuke. Now Team 7 was all gone. Kakashi returned to rather heartbreaking news once again, which put the man into a dreadful mind condition. It only took 2 weeks for him to come to Tsunade Senju and ask her if he can reapply for Anvu. At first she wanted to deny the request, but she understood that his mental state was not something that was stable at the moment. Perhaps Anvu could give him the leverage and the stability that he needed to focus his emotions, to focus his mind. So she agreed. Her medical program that she had started as an escape to get away from the bad thoughts once again. As it turns out that she had a rather rising student, Sakura needed training more than ever, as she was going to bring Sasuke back and nothing was going to stop her. The others were humiliated by their loss, so their training started to go crazy, everyone pushing themselves more and more. Neji was affected by Naruto during their battle, when he spoke about himself being a caged bird and that he would never get his freedom. Hayashi had spoken to him afterwards. But now Neji knew that he needed to get stronger. Hinata had been devastated even though she failed to see the one that she loved in Naruto's eyes. But now that he was gone, it crushed her, as Neji saw the hopelessness in her eyes. And for the first time he started to feel emotions of sadness for her. So he spoke to her, as one would do to a cousin, to help her, to help guide her, because she was lost, and her father was not one to show much weakness or sympathy. It was not the way of a Hyuga, they say. Just like that, weeks turned into months and months turned into years. Before anyone knew it, 3 years had blown by rather quickly. Yes, just like that. In a base away from all other eyes, there was only 2 persons inside of this base, and one of them was suspended in a giant tube. It was none other than Naruto. The 3 years, he has grown rather well. He was now standing at 6'1". His body had gotten muscular, as he wasn't wearing a shred of clothing. His entire body was enraptured in green liquid, in a massive tube. His eyes were closed. There was a rebreather over his mouth. There were several tubes running from the back of the massive tube that ran into his flesh. Several into his back, several into his chest, several into his arms, and several into his legs. His body was perfectly still. If the heart monitor was not attached, you would think that he was dead. The other person standing there was Orochimaru. Focus on the monitors, as he grabbed a switch nearby and pulled it down. As liquid started to run into Naruto's veins, he started to throw himself from left to right in the water. His body started to move erratically. His veins tightened. His muscles flexed. His hair strangely stiffened despite the water that it was currently in. His body was behaving erratically. Finally, it all calmed down. His heartbeat that was skyrocketing finally calmed back down. The Sannin looked rather pleased, because his life was also on the line as well. However, the past 3 years had been good to Orochimaru. Very, very good. In order for Naruto to create what he needed, he had to put many to death by siphoning off many of his own people chakra, as Naruto created a pill for him. A chakra pill, he called it. Orochimaru had felt his cells stop aging, as Naruto gave him a small piece. His cells had stopped aging for the past 3 years. His organs had stopped aging as well. And this was only the top of the well that Naruto understood. The very top. Orochimaru had gained immortality. However, this was not permanent. But he did not need to switch bodies. Even after a 3-year time, his body would not reject him because of the pill. But soon it will eventually wear off. However, to become truly perfect, Orochimaru needed much more than a pill. But Naruto had lived up to his bargain and showed him that he can be trusted. And Orochimaru had lived up to his as well. Well, he had to. And he couldn't really kill Naruto because their souls were bonded together. Orochimaru had tried to find a way to undo the soul bond, but he was right. This wasn't just Fuinjutsu. This was a damn curse. As Orochimaru was able to see the inner workings of his own body, his very chakra and heart, they were bind to Naruto. While physical damage would not be dealt on the both of them, spiritual damage would. It led Orochimaru to believe what kind of things that Naruto had seen in his time, for him to learn such dexterity, for him to learn such things. At the moment, the Sannin was making Naruto stronger. Stronger than he could possibly imagine. Orochimaru did not fear Naruto killing him. He did not fear that, because to undo this curse that he placed on him, Naruto had to draw the same seal that he drew in his chest. As Orochimaru had watched him do it on something else, 2 of his own men. And he saw what happened when Naruto tried to undo it on the one that first started it. He died. That meant Naruto couldn't just undo the curse. He couldn't just undo it, he had to draw the seal on Orochimaru's chest. And Orochimaru was still connected to him, therefore Orochimaru could simply threaten to kill himself and therefore taking him down as well. And because of their link, they share a sort of trust. A trust that Orochimaru had never ever given anyone since his defection from the Hidden Leaf Village. And he knew what they would face in the future if this did not happen. And he knew that he could not face the future threat. This man that they called Nobushiki. Nobushiki was a leader of the Otsutsukis. And he was the true definition of the word a god. A god that walked amongst mortals. And in order to defeat a god, you have to surpass the very definition of what they are. And that is exactly what Naruto intended to do. But he was nowhere close. Absolutely nowhere close in reaching such might as of yet. But soon, his strength was growing at an abnormal rate. And what was being pumped into his flesh was no ordinary substance. DNA and chakra from several special people. Over the past 3 years, many had lost their life at Naruto's hands. However, they were necessary sacrifice to save thousands of trillions upon trillions of life forms. They were needed, and their life would be worth it in the end. By giving it on to him, as Naruto was further empowering himself, the final dose flew into Naruto's body when his eyes opened up. For a moment, his eyes were no longer blue. They were clear as the sky without a reflection. Before his eyes returned back blue as the glass, and everything in the room exploded. The sheer magnitude of power that escaped his might because of the sudden influxion into his form. Naruto's feet landed on broken glass. Instead of his feet being harmed, the glass broke under his might. as he flexed his arms, standing there naked as the day he was born, his wet hair resting on the back of his neck. Orochimaru had took cover behind one of the many machines that was now impaled with several broken glass. As Naruto looked at his arms, checking himself out. "You did good," he said. "But we're not done yet. Far from it." Orochimaru was actually interested to see how far this child could reach, as he kept on breaking his barriers, breaking his limitation on his body. Even now his body was more inhuman than Orochimaru has ever been, and Orochimaru had done some really twisted and inhumane stuff to himself, and yet this boy had surpassed him in those areas, becoming a true definition of a monster. However, this monster was necessary to rid the world of another monster that would bring everything to its knees. Time skip. It was nighttime at the hidden sand. Everything was going rather well. There was a calm, gentle breeze blowing through the air. Gaara was seated within his office. Gaara had taken Naruto's word to heart, and here he was, the Kazekage of his village, standing high and standing proud. However, tonight, everything changed, not just for him, but for the entire world. Tonight, they will all know the name Void and what he brings. The emptiness, the soulless crushing void that will consume them all. Everything was going well on the walls. The two guards that were to the right were actually joking with one another until they all noticed a silhouette bathing in the moonlight. Immediately, their voices hailed down for him to identify himself before reaching the checkpoint. However, he suddenly vanished. With a show of incredible speed, he was now standing behind them. They turned, but one hit to the head for them both with both of his arms, and their body crumbled. Others were quickly alerted. He jumped off the wall as he started to fall. Before he dropped to the ground though, he turned his body upright and stepped on the very air, boosting off to the village. As he landed right in the massive open area, there were some people heading to strange places at night. As the alarm started to sound about the intruder, a ninja nearby hopped down from the roof, his intention to subdue him, flipping out a kunai, but before he could even point it, the man vanished from his sight. The ninja head slipped off his shoulder and dropped to the ground, his body crumbling lifelessly. Void stood there, his mask without any eye holes. His body was covered by a brown cloak. Underneath, he was wearing a tight grey shirt that showed off his developing muscles and the ones that he currently had. Dark pants, ninja sandals. He had a blade that was resting on his hip, tilting to the right side of his back. As he stepped forward, dropping the kunai that was in his hand that he took from the ninja's hand without the man even able to react. As he walked, people started to die. Explosions. Gaara immediately took to the sky. Gaara arrived on the battlefield as he saw around 10 of his shinobis dead on the ground. Immediately the sand rushed down. Void vanished as he arrived on the roof. He teleported away towards another as Gaara chased after him. As he landed on a rather large open roof on a rather massive building, Gaara was rather pissed off, his face looking devoid of all emotion and reason. "You walked into my village and harmed my people," he said. "I shall not let you leave. Well, first of all, I'm here for you. Your people got in my way, so I had to stay in the ground with your blood. Who are you? Said Gaara. You can just call me Void. Names are meaningless nowadays. But you can respond to me as that. Perhaps you're right. Certain names are meaningless. Because from this moment on, you won't be able to tell anyone else of that name. Gaara lashed out his sand without even moving. Void blinked away with speed that shocked Gaara. Gaara created a wall in front of him as Void appeared and thrust his hand out. Gaara's eyes widened as his sand dropped like a fly. Not just part of it, but the entire thing. The moment Void slammed his hand on it, it was like he deactivated, like he depowered the sand. Gaara tried to move back. As he brought his arms up, he knew taijutsu after all. When their hands collided, Gaara felt the bones in his hand. They trembled with such painful force. Before Gaara could step back in, a fist ruptured in his guts. He was then given a powerful uppercut. The ninjas who were on standby watched. As they had to jump down, their Kazekage was being beaten, as Void wanted them to see. Before Gaara could make a move as the sand shot out of his gort, Void slapped him in the chest, and the sand dropped to the ground like dust. As Gaara's body limped over, as the ninjas noticed a seal on their Kazekage's chest, they descended down towards this intruder. However, Void stepped on the ground, causing the roof to crack. As he released his chakra, air pressure pockets exploded from the roof like a volcano erupting, blowing them away. That is when a puppet erupted in front of him, its intention to grab him, but with super speed he vanished, holding on to Gaara as Temari and Conqueror were standing there. Bastard, you're not leaving with him, Temari said. As if you can stop me, he said. Conqueror sent two puppets. Once again, Void evaded. Temari could not attack because she risked hitting Gaara. Void started to blink away until he no longer appeared to the spot. Conqueror, Temari said, as she turned her fan into a club. Conqueror turned, but a blade sliced through his guts. Temari swung the fan, but Void ducked out of the way and blackhanded her with his other hand, momentarily releasing Gaara as he ripped the blade from Conqueror and caught Gaara once again. Temari crashed hard. She picked herself up, spitting up blood, as Conqueror dropped to the ground, bleeding. Temari ran forward and swung her fan, but it passed through him. No way. How could that be an after image? Temari looked down as a blade was pointing through her shoulder. The blade was ripped out of her as she fell down, as her tendons in her legs were cut as well. Standing above the two bleeding brother and sisters, as he looked down towards them before, the ground rumbled under his feet as he took off, releasing a high pressurized wind blast as he scaled through the heavens and vanished, leaving them there utterly defeated as the village defenses were unable to do damn because he was already gone. Time skip. A team had been sent to the sand from Konoha after hearing about what happened. Yes, a team had been sent there to help with the efforts of trying to recover the Kazekage. One of them had to stay back. So, Temari went with the group. Conqueror had stayed back. Surprisingly, none of his organs were hit. However, when they heard about the person, they realized who it was. Tsunade had told the others, including Sakura, about the person that they came across that stopped the retrieval team. Sakura blamed this person for her not having her Sasuke back. Sakura had been training hard over the past few years It was a bit awkward reuniting with Kakashi. However, it was glad to see him again. The both of them had not kept in touch. Tsunade had took him off Anbu for this, believing that his insights would be needed for this. Team 7 was extremely shortened, so Team 9 was sent. Guy Kakashi, Tenten, who wanted revenge for the past, Neji, and Rock Lee as well. Sakura there as their medic, as the girl had impressed Tsunade over the past 3 years, as she risen to new heights. After gaining the information and meeting up with Temari, they headed out. As they tried to track him down, they already had people from the Sand heading out from the night before, but they knew they would not be strong enough to deal with this individual. Strangely enough, they tracked him to nearby location, passing the land of Wind, exiting their borders. They thought that he would have left the area completely after the borders, but he went near to the land of water. It took them 3 days in total. 1 to get there, and 2 to make their way. As they were moving, no one was really talking. Their mind was set on their goal. This is where they lost him. There was a massive canopy there, a trench that headed down. However, they knew that he was in there, and backup finally arrived. So with that, the Konoha team descended, plus Temari. Their efforts to find and save her brother. When they arrived though, they found Gaara. He was simply sitting there, unconscious. Standing in front of him was the man. Kakashi and Guy stepped forward, the others standing there as backup. Neji recognized him because he could not see through his mask. It was the same mask but larger. The person had grown as well. "It's him," said Tenten, clenching her fists. Void. Kakashi was the one that spoke, as his name was told to them by Shikamaru. "I suppose you're here for him. I'm afraid it's already too late. I've taken the tail beast." Temari's eyes went wide as she gripped her fan tightly. However, he's not dead. That surprised them. After all, I'm going to need him to rule his village, to lead them into war. War? What the hell are you talking about? Said Temari. It's simple. The villages will need strong leaders. Because after I'm done with my goal, I'm going to burn this planet, down to the last man, down to the last child. This world is broken. I thought there was a way to save it, but I was wrong. I can't save it. So instead I'll rebuild. I'll start with the great nations first, and then I'll go after the smaller ones. And once I'm done with purifying this world, I'll rebuild it in my image. I'll rebuild it as the image I see fit for this world. This guy's some kind of psychopath, Tenten said. I've been called that before. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am. But I'm a psychopath with a plan and a goal on how I am going to change this world. Whoever or whatever he damn is, we can't just let him go, said Temari, for his actions against our village, for the people that he's killed. He must perish here, she said. As she was very angry, as the Sand lost a lot of people. He turned as he finally faced them. As he looked at them. You think you all can stop me, or perhaps defeat me? Well, we'll have to give it a try. We can't allow someone like you, with your strength and mindset, to keep on going. Kakashi said, It's amusing that you think my actions are wrong when the world is what is wrong. Can't you see that? How many people have you lost? How many has died because of this corrupted world? Instead of fighting me, you should be joining me. Enough of this, Temari said. Hand over my brother. You think I'm holding him hostage? I'm not. I said it already. There has to be capable people to lead armies. And I need him to lead the Sen, to come and face me. I want the world to be fixed, and I also want the past members to see there's nothing they can do to stop my might. Therefore, I need people like him to be in charge, because they will be the one to give up, to spare their loved ones, to spare their people, and to rule in the new world that I create. But before creation there shall be destruction, and thousands will have to die. Your words are very unyouthful, said Lee. And we can't allow you to do what you have to do. Lee's right. You're a psychopath who seem to just enjoy killing, said Tenten. So we're gonna stop you right here and now. As Guy clenched his fist and prepared himself, something was off about this person. As Guy knew powerful people from their stance, but the way this person carried himself, his body did not seem to react to them, like they posed no threat despite their numbers. He gave Kakashi a side look. Kakashi saw that look. Guy wasn't usually worried about facing individuals, but even Guy could tell. Kakashi could tell the moment they arrived because his Sharingan was not picking up anything. No chakra, no source, nothing at all. It was like they were looking at a complete ghost. Nothing was there, which made no sense. As the group prepared themselves, I suppose you need an example of what you cannot defeat. Well then, I shall give you a taste, but just a small one. There's a lot for me to do. Prepare yourself, he said. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.